Yeah, 316. Got game and pulled out his own Atari. I said sorry, I'ma have to pass like Nash to Amari. Tiger up early on a Sunday, sinking birdies while the pigskin spinning through the air, tight and birdie. It's a TD, it's a TKO, a home run, it's a hat trick. Ain't no way to be an all-star without practice. So if you down to sacrifice your life for a draft pick, it's a pretty sweet position you can live in if you have some things in the air. If you got game, waving like you just don't care. If you got game, playing like you got no fit, and you got game. If you came here to win, yeah, you got game.
Hey guys, welcome back to rBeatz.com. We've got a really great episode of Sessions today. We're here with Chris Stack, who is a co-founder of rBeatz, actually here, a little behind the scenes action. And he is an electronic music producer out of New Jersey. And we're going to be chatting with him today about some recent projects and what he's up to. So Chris, introduce yourself. What's up?
Hey, I'm Chris Stack. Electronic music producer and the co-founder of rBeatz. I am currently residing in New Jersey. I just had a baby girl. She is 7 months old. So that has really kind of taken center stage for me. And then full-time, I am a marketer here in the city at an agency. So, living the creative dad full-time job life here in Jersey.
Totally. Yeah, you're wearing all the hats, doing all the things. That sounds great. Yeah. So I wanted to talk to you. Let's dive into the music first because I had a listen. I went through and checked out your Spotify and the last two EPs that you had. Fun name titles for them, by the way. We had an I Need Vocals titled EP last year, and then we had the I Found Vocals EP this year. Can you tell me more about those titles and what that means?
Yeah, sure. So the I Need Vocals was I don't sing. I also don't like chasing after singers a lot. And when I make music, it is without vocals. If there are vocals in it, it's vocal chops here and there. It's very instrumental. So I just thought, hey, I need vocals, throw it out there. If anybody saw it and wanted to hop on, then we could do other sessions. That was kind of the idea behind it. I Found Vocals was a suggestion of one of my friends who's much more successful than me in the music industry, because one of the things that I like to do is I have an acapella pack of like 2,000 millennial acapellas. When I say millennials, I mean like hip hop from the 2000s. And I would just take all of my productions, and I have my entire setup here. I chopped up maybe 100 acapellas that I liked, and I would just sit here. You're now in my music dungeon, the basement.
Love it. Yeah.
My space, and I would just play my music and just try to find acapellas that would match up with it. So on Spotify, it's the instrumental version. But if you go to YouTube, I have 11 tracks of all of my produced music that have, very popular music from the 2000 acapellas on my YouTube page. So they're like mashups with my produced music. I call them stack ups.
I love that.
And that is where I found vocals. And I found them and I threw them on YouTube because YouTube, you can just not monetize. And I don't really care about monetizing my channel nowadays. I just like creating.
Yeah.
So I can throw in copywritten music there. And then Spotify, you can't really throw a song with Lil Jon on it without Lil Jon.
Right. Yeah. I definitely noticed there's like two different things you're going to get at those two different destinations with you. What was really cool when so I hit up Spotify first, and I'm listening through the latest EP, the I Found Vocals. And this is so cool because I was just really enjoying it. It was very unique to me because you have this atmospheric soundscape thing going on, but you're so good at bringing in lots of texture and frequency changes. And it was just a very interesting and like a storytelling experience, really. Even without vocals, you clearly can produce things that don't need that. I mean, it's in your other EP, which I'll talk about here in a second. But it's also got this kind of dark edge, like a mysterious vibe. And I'm noticing a lot of these sounds that you're pulling, I almost can place them. So I kind of wanted to talk to you about your inspiration for drawing the leads and sounds. Because like on one track, I'm like, man, that sounds like a lead off something of Tame Impala or something. And then I hear this other Easter egg of like and I'm like, was that DMX or something? Like, I don't know. So tell me more about, because clearly you're kind of like an impressionistic artist with laying down these things. So tell me, like, what rings the bell for you? How does that work for you?
Yeah, so I'm my creation process really stemmed from, so actually a conversation that I had when I was first making music. I was in the loop. I would be spending like 4 hours on the same loop, being like way too perfectionist. I eventually created a a rendition of Billie Holiday's "Strange Fruit," sung by one of my friends, and we went to a studio to get it done. All in all, it took a long time to create one song that I was really, really proud of, maybe like a couple of months. And it was one song. And it was really well done. It was my favorite thing. I was like holding on to it, trying to like plan its release and everything. And at a certain point, it kind of fizzled out, and we never really got the release behind it. And I was speaking with, at the time I was working, we were working at rBeatz, trying to build up the music discovery portion. And I had a conversation with one of Wendy's friends, Dell, who, when I told him I had one song that I was really proud of, he kind of laughed a little. It wasn't malicious. He's like, one song? Like, I've made thousands of songs. And in my head, that really kind of inspired me to change the way that I produce, in terms of, I need to just focus on starting and finishing a song, and like fishing, like catch and release. But I need to focus on doing it as fast as possible, because I hated that I'm just getting caught up in all of these small little details and just never coming out with anything. That I completely changed my creation process to quickly finding melodies, drums that I liked, and then moving forward as fast as possible, just to catch and release, catch and release, catch and release. And since that time, I think friends that while I'm not, perfect in the structure, the mixing and mastering, friends that I create with have been impressed at the speed at which I can make a song. And that creation process really has been, everything that you probably see on Spotify, where I have while working with rBeatz, I was working with, I'd write a lot about new musicians, have a lot of conversations. One producer by the name of Bradley Allen, he had credits with Nicki Minaj, and he worked at Warner, one of the big labels, as a producer. He sent me this sampling plugin called Output by Arcade, in which it's a $10 a month subscription, and it recycles through royalty-free samples in a cool, fun interface. And you have a huge sample library to pick from. You scroll through for inspiration, and you can set the key as well. So my favorite way of making, I can sit down and do that on my own, and I'm just scrolling through sounds until I hear something and say, yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Go on to the next track, add another layer until it's, yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. And then perpetually moving forward to the, yeah, that's it moment.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to sound good.
Right.
And once I hit that, I move forward. Once I have the idea of this sounds like a really cohesive hook, then I'll build up the verse towards typically a drop. I'll make the hook. I try to build a second hook that's a little bit more interesting now,
Mm-hmm.
because I hated just doing verse, hook, similar
Right.
verse, maybe a bridge, same hook.
Mm-hmm.
Because for electronic music, you have to kind of take them on a different journey and
Yes.
do something different at the end, because you're not relying on vocals. You don't have vocals.
Exactly. It's like a totally different thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I try to really, once I find the sounds quickly that are really inspired through this Output Arcade plugin, then I just really focus on arranging, get the skeleton there, take a break, stop, come back, keep tinkering. And, in a weekend, I can, start and finish a song that
That's
I'm.
great. And I'm really glad that you brought up the fact that you changed the creative process when you can see something may work or maybe not work. And I think that that's something a lot of us creatives, we're so worried about that end product and not necessarily our state of mind at beginning it. Or, sometimes setting those shorter time constraints is actually just this wonderful thing. It's almost like riding a wave, right? Like you got to do it while it's there and don't fester with it, because then it'll just come undone and you'll lose that flame. So I think that's pretty great how you're finding inspiration. I wanted to also talk about the other EP that you had, the I Need Vocals, because that one you do have a couple of vocals that will come in. And I think it's on the 2 a.m. in the club is my favorite on that one, because you got these really cool, nice, icy waterfall vocals that come in. And that's different because I feel like that EP, you're on the ride a little longer. Like it's more of a longer stretch of a vibe. Whereas the newer EP is more of like, came across as a storytelling. So I just think it's so cool. I just really loved listening. So just kudos to that. And I appreciate all the little Easter eggs. Like there's always something that's coming in that I just don't expect, so I love it. So I wanted to ask you, what are your influences as far as musicality and like putting things together? Who do you look towards for that?
Yeah. In terms of my, I would say my favorite musicians, and part of the reason that I got into production, I played sports my whole life,
Mm,
and I never had like time to really dive in. I was classically trained in piano, so I understood kind of the basics of it, but I had a really intense teacher that scared me away. But
Let me
that,
hold on. I don't mean to interrupt, but the classical training, I feel like is like the hugest basis for all these creative avenues of any other genre. But go ahead. I'm sorry she scared you, you said?
she scared me away. It was just like note reading I
Yeah.
wasn't great at it. I almost wish I had preferred to have gone into like more of like a jazz lane,
Yeah.
and like give me the chords and like let me learn the scales, and then let me jam with, like, that's what I enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
I I prefer to have like trained my ear more than trained my eyesight.
Yours. Yeah, exactly.
Um, and it was intense. And I was just like, get me out of here. And so then I did sports for a while. And then I really in college, I really loved dubstep and Skrillex specifically at the time. Skrillex and
Mhm.
Pretty Lights.
Yeah.
I would say when I would hear their sounds, I would my first dive into production was I need to how do they make that? I was so curious how they made that sound. And I was just because you never hear anything like it. When you hear, like the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, you know what instruments they're playing. When you
Right.
hear a really like guttural bass sound,
Yeah.
you're what is that? Like how like I just got so interested in how to make it. So I downloaded Ableton, tried to make it. I'm like, oh, this sounds really bad. And this is really hard to try and replicate that specific sound and have the same textures that these professionals have it in. And I was extremely bad for like a long time. But those I would say, Pretty Lights' groove and his textures and his funky sound, and then Skrillex's sound design, I would say were really big influences in my music today.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, it was a completely different wave of sound. You're absolutely right. It kind of reminds me when the Yes album 90125 comes out and everyone's like, "What in the world? You don't hear those things." And then you just got to know. Some of us just have to know, how to make it and how to do that. That's so cool.
Yeah, and
Um,
I'll also add, I think because with dubstep and it could be a little on the faster side, and then there's another artist, Rez, that I was very influenced by that had a more down tempo. Because as I got older, the kind of the faster, kind of scarier dubstep scared me, and I was just like, I can't, too intense. I
yeah.
need something more chill and laid back. But I still liked that bass sound. So that's probably a lot of, you know, in the new EP, why I'm taking a little bit more of a chill, laid back approach.
Mhm.
Uh, those bass sound and that bass texture is really hard to make. When I find it, I might throw it in there. But um, yeah, I would say those three were really big influences for me.
That's pretty great. So, influences come in, but at the same time, we have our own kind of want for making things. And I'm curious when you sort of noticed that that's kind of what you wanted to do.
Yeah, it wanted to do is a it's like it's definitely, a very I enjoy doing it, period. So, and for a long time I didn't enjoy doing it because I couldn't like navigate very well. Like once I opened the program Ableton, it took me years to be comfortable in actually like I've quit so many times because we were talking about at the beginning of the show. Like I have my entire setup here,
Yeah, let's take a look.
you know, and I
Yeah.
have like 100 chopped up acapella vocals here. I have more drums and my songs there. I have different filters and things there. This is like
Perfect.
those
Yeah.
that's the sample pad, and that took me 3 minutes to set up, and I'm extremely comfortable in Ableton now versus it took me a long time to get there. And when I really started to have fun with it and creating with it was when I would jam with friends and go out, and at one of the companies I worked for, um, we would have a music club and everybody had instruments, and I would bring the sampler and the
Mhm.
drum pad, and I had to figure out how to map everything to include the pianist, include the drummer, include all of these elements, so then I can contribute.
Wow.
And it was difficult at first, but then now I'm at a point where I can have my friend come over who's a bassist or a guitar player or a piano player, plug them in, and we can jam together. And instead of just having a guitar and a drummer, we have a guitar and like the infinite library of sampling and synths. So once I got to a point where I was comfortable with navigating everything and comfortable with I can have a setup turned on in 2 minutes, then I started to really have fun with it and you know be comfortable in, hey, let's just turn this on as quick as possible, create and get to playing.
Yeah.
It's really fun with when friends come over and we just plug in and we can jam for hours.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine. So you're kind of cultivating how to like exist in that space because it's not like just bringing a guitar over to your friends and just dropping it in. It's so different for you as far as being an electronic musician. I mean, just let alone the patience required to learn software and to understand what you're doing. I could never do that, so I respect that big time. But just thinking about how to incorporate yourself with other live instruments, that's very admirable. I think that's really cool. I also wanted to ask you, are you familiar with BT by chance?
No.
Electronic. Okay, I want you to look him up after this, or I'll send you a link. But it just reminds me of that. Only, with electronic, it's obviously based with the computer, and you've got your pads and all that stuff around. Are you much into any type of synths or outboard stuff? Or
Yeah, I'd
okay,
love. Yeah, I'd love to get a nice synth in here. That's like
yeah.
that's like the my next thing that I want. I
Then
feel like I'm gonna just be in like a deep dungeon of just like sounds and synths, and then when I get a break from the kids, I go down and just because I can make music and make sounds without like any goal of like finishing anything.
yeah.
And a lot of my friends, who are like really talented musicians, right? They'll get caught in the ooh, that bass line needs to be perfect. That thing needs to be better. This needs to be when I'm creating a song with the goal of creating a song, I'm just like move forward, catch and release, move forward.
Hmm.
We need to finish it and just get it going. But yeah, I can make music with no goal and have just as much fun.
Yeah, I think that's the ticket, is that it's just the process and not getting tied up on that end product. I totally agree. Speaking of the kids, do they ever come down and jam with you? Put on a little dance party? Anything?
Yeah, she's 7 months old,
No, she's
so
not dancing yet. But
no, she music is like I'm trying to get music very we just got like an upright piano off Facebook Marketplace and got it like
uh,
tuned. I take her to piano lessons where she bangs on the piano for who knows. I'll take her down here and like lower the volume and like for Thanksgiving I had, brother-in-laws here who play music and I just had her in my arms as I was trying to do things and they were trying to do things and she's very engaged with music. Anytime we put music on that, and if she's crying or upset, we put music on, she is paying attention.
that's awesome. It's that universal language. You just can't explain it. It's so funny. I see videos all the time where there's this one song that will end a tantrum for a kid, and it could be just some random, you just never know. That's
Yeah.
pretty great. Yeah. Are you, did you grow up with a musical family, or was it just you that had the bug?
No, I would say like they didn't like my family didn't play instruments. I would listen to my father loved Irish folk music, specifically Mary Black.
Okay.
So, and he controlled the car. So it was a lot of, I really like singer songwriter music. Um, I love folk music in my, spare time. I have like a record player and, I love to just go dig through crates and, find new stuff. And, um, so we listened to a fair amount of music, but it was really just one of those where I got, thrown into piano lessons because that's what people in our neighborhood did. And Yeah, it wasn't like, aside from listening to music in the car, it wasn't a very musical family.
Oh, that's pretty cool, though. I mean, it obviously just comes through. You just never know. That's great.
Mhm.
Um, so you mentioned that you play, with friends. Sometimes you'll bring in your stuff. What's the kind of latest thing you've been doing? Have you been playing out, or you might be busy? I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, so I don't like, it's very much a hobby for me.
Mm,
I, I don't seek, like, playing out really. I do it as, like,
your thing, yeah.
my my man cave, kinda like my dungeon, and friends can come over. Um, and funny enough, the reason that I dropped the I Found Vocals project was very much because as I'm taking care of, my little one, you quickly realize, and I got scared that, like, oh, this is going to be harder to do all the time, or, on a regular basis.
Right.
So my, good friend of mine, Teddy Beats, who, he's played at a bunch of major festivals, has millions of streams on Spotify. I really leaned to him to, like, motivate me to get projects done. And um, another thing that, you hear with professional musicians, and the way that I like to create, is they always talk about how, yeah, they like to create, but then once they get to a certain level, like, deadlines are a thing.
Mm,
So, like, they have to create for a deadline. So he helped impose on me. I was like, I don't know how much music I'm going to be able to do. I need to set a deadline for myself.
mhm.
So I set a deadline for just all the music that I had stored up to release it, for October 11th, because in my head, you got to let time for Halloween to breathe. November, everyone's doing family things,
Right.
I don't think, and then December is December. They feel like the winter season seems a little cold to, like, release music and have people kind of pay attention. So I was just like, I just need to get this. I need to get my library and start a blank slate, and try to find a new relationship with music with my daughter, in the fold.
Yeah. Well, that sounds great. We're actually going to pick this up and see kind of where you're headed and what you want to do next after this break. We're just going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsors and friends. We'll catch you when you come back.
Welcome to the world where rhythm meets passion, where your brand dances to a beat of its own. This is rBeatz.com, your one-stop solution for all things music. Imagine your brand soaring high on the wings of a pulsating beat. Picture the thrill of a crowd, energized by a soundtrack that perfectly encapsulates your vision. That's what we do here at rBeatz.com. Our mission is to intertwine your story with a unique rhythm that captures the heart of your brand. Whether you're a startup looking to make a grand entrance or an established brand aiming to redefine your sound, we've got you covered. From adrenaline-pumping tracks for a sports brand to soothing melodies for a wellness venture, our beats are as diverse as your needs. Remember, it's not just about the beat, it's about the rhythm of your brand. So come, join us at rBeatz.com, where your brand finds its beat. rBeatz.com, your brand, our beats.
We're very honored to be here today and to form a partnership with Michael and bringing an American Hockey League team to Charlotte. We really feel that this is a huge step forward to the growth of hockey in North Carolina and in the South.
On the point, it goes, scores! A deflection in front, and the Checkers win the series!
This is my new home.
longest game in American Hockey League history, and we are in the midst of it.
Rebound chance. Save pass. They're going to the Calder Cup Finals. The Charlotte Checkers are Calder Cup champions.
They are the kings of the American Hockey League, and there's no one left to beat. Lawrence can win the game.
Fake shoots.
It's been 590 days since the last hockey game in Charlotte, and the Checkers will don a new affiliate on their sweaters and a familiar face as their new captain.
Out front, dangling, shot, he scores! Checkers with a rebound, Carlson buries it, we're back tomorrow night! On the right wing board, Samoskevich finds a nice shot, he scores! And the Checkers have their first lead of the Queen City Outdoor Classic. Number 124 for number 21, the new franchise record!
Hey guys, welcome back to the rBeatz studio for another episode of Sessions here with Chris Stack. I'm Jess. And Chris, I wanted to bring up something you said right before we cut to break. You mentioned a new relationship with music, and that really sticks with me as someone who's kind of done it for a long time. I feel like we come back to examining how our relationship is with this kind of interest or gift or talent or whatever you want to call it, because it can really change or maybe deflate depending on circumstances that you're in, whether maybe, I'll speak for myself, if you're teaching it 5 days a week for hours and hours, you're going to have a different relationship with the music. The tap's going to run a little different. And then same thing, if the goal is to have just commercial success, you maybe will be missing out on something else more within or more timeless or valuable. So when you had mentioned that, you also had brought up your daughter, and we talked about, envisioning maybe a new synth in your room. When you come to your relationship with music, how would you describe how it's been and how you kind of maybe want to tweak it moving forward, if you can?
Yeah, it's a really good question and something I'm trying to figure out. You might be able to hear upstairs just the chaos of there's right now 3 dogs. We got grandma and grandpa. They're taking care of the baby up there. So my life is a lot more busy.
Yeah.
I have moved, individuals are getting older, like, friends don't want to come over as much and jam.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's definitely something difficult that I am trying to still figure out. Like, for example, I don't really seek out, like, when I see people touring and all that to me looks exhausting.
I agree.
I don't seek out that, right? I'm a marketer by trade. I am an expert in, right, paid advertising. I do this all at the comfort of my home. I enjoy music, but not to the extent that I want to even do small gigs. Like, if somebody says, "Hey, can you play in my bar?" Like, it's just not something that I'm interested in. I love playing with friends, and I also don't want to lose my music is like a language, and I don't want to lose that language.
Right.
So I don't want to step away from it for a long time and then come back and then have to, like, relearn everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's part of the reason why I grew up with a baby grand in my house. I love having an actual piano in the house. It's part of the reason why we went forward with getting one of those. I got an app called Simply Piano where I'm trying to at least instill keeping up with piano as a habit to build. It's like work, like music to me is like working out.
Yeah.
You know, the more you do it every day, the better you're going to get at it, but you have to stick with it every day. And then once you drop it, you know, that lag time also has its effect. So, you know, being able to just keep up my ear. I have my vinyl player and my piano, so when I play vinyls, I'll try to play along with whatever song is going. That's like a fun little habit that I like to try and do. On the electronic side, it's for me, it's the continuous of this is just keep building on making this as seamless of a creative experience as possible.
Yeah.
So when friends do come over or I get into the creative mindset, I can just come in here and start playing away. You know, and that includes just kind of like, you know, making sure some of these, you know, MIDI instruments stay locked, for example, is the new kind of tech issue that I'm working towards. Making sure everything is just like as seamless as possible is, you know, what I'm working towards. But finding the time is hard. So, you know, on the electronic side, it's hard for me to, you know, look at my wife and say, "Hey, I'm going to be in the basement slamming Guinnesses for 4 hours. Can you watch the kid?" You know,
Right.
it's just like it's a tough thing to do. So, you know, that's why the upright piano is like where I see my current relationship with music.
Yeah.
Then just, you know, when and if I ever do find the time sneaking down here, right? It might be when the wife and baby, you know, go to sleep at 7 p.m. and then I'm like, oh, I got a night to myself. I might sneak on down here and it's always gonna, and sometimes I come down with the goal of building the live set out. Sometimes I come down and I just say, let me try to start and finish a song right now. And I will do that in a night. I will start and finish a song, day 2, tinker.
Yeah. That's
You know, and
great. Yeah, I like that you're prioritizing keeping it in your life. Like you said, you don't want it to fall by the wayside. And I think what I've learned over time too is that it's always going to be there when you are ready to come back, you know, even if you have to take a break from that. And having a physical piano, I definitely agree with that, especially upstairs with everybody around. I know for me, it's like sometimes I just got to be able to reach over and hear something without turning a power switch on, just because it's alive, it's real. So that's great that you have that going on up there. I wanted to ask you, I know you don't play out, but collaborations. Have you ever thought about like if you could collaborate with any artist, living or dead, who would that be for you?
Man, so one of the things that I'm always like with collaborations, part of why like part of me thinks I'm like a selfish musician in a way where
No, I see what you're. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
I don't think I like collaborating, but what I love doing is playing with my friends, and that is collaborating.
Yeah, it is.
The whole ethos around I need vocals was because I have a friend who, you know, he goes out and he works with artists and singers and songwriters, and you know, he'll regale me of the stories of how much, you know, it's a headache sometimes. And I really enjoy creating on my own. I don't seek collaboration. I seek collaboration in friends and everything.
Mm-hmm.
When I watch, you know, like like if I walked into the room with like my favorite artist, I would just feel intimidated.
Mm.
there's like, I really love experimental bass music. There's an artist, and as a co-founder of rBeatz, I was deep into like the newest artists.
Yeah.
Like the big artists, at the end of the day, that is like really intimidating to me. Even like artists that tour are intimidating to me. I, one of my really good friends is Teddy Beats. I would love to like have a basement session with him because he's my friend. Sound wise, I took lessons from this group called dot dot like dot
Yeah.
dot. And they are really experimental. I love their music. And I think doing and they're like music technicians, and I know of them. I've taken lessons from them. Any musician that can come in and just help with like my technical questions is what I desire. You know, like I think my Spotify, I had Ariana Grande up there. I'll listen to like any new album that is coming out. I love all music. I love digging through crates. Uh, you know, like real musicians that aren't electronic musicians intimidate me a little if they're like not my friends.
Okay.
So, I think I called myself like selfish in that way, just because like I don't desire collaborations. I want my friends to come over. We're in my basement drinking a couple beers and we're just jamming for 3 hours and looking for gold. And that's how a lot of my songs came to fruition. I was jamming with a good friend of mine who plays bass. We would send to a good friend of ours who plays guitar. And we were just in the basement jamming. And in that jam session, it's like, it could be 3, 4, 5 hour jam session. I am constantly recording, clipping, stopping, restarting. And then by the end of the jam session, I have like, 4 or 5 tracks that I will arrange afterwards.
That's so cool. Yeah.
And that to me is everything. And yeah,
You can use that as a sample. That little it's so great. It reminds I actually used to teach vocals with someone who had a dog at their home, and when we would do the scales, he'd go right up with us. Anyways, it's just reminding me of that. But yeah. I was gonna say, so does that mean, well, what if I asked you to do some vocals, or maybe I could do vocals on some Chris Stack stuff? That would be or would I need to come up and jam first?
No. That is easy, because then I just send you the MP3s and I say,
oh yeah,
because I've had, and you're right, because I've had no vocalists say, can I try to sing on your tracks? Right.
Well, here we go.
Or like do something on your tracks. I have them prepped and ready to go. I send them to you, and then you do your thing, and then we'll have a conversation about it.
That sounds good, because I feel like we had a conversation recently. As you know, guys, Chris is the co-founder of rBeatz with Wendy, and Wendy and I actually did a project. It was an electronic album called Perfectly Imperfect by 6C House, and we had been discussing maybe the next thing should be like Chris with Jess vocals, and just see where that goes. So I'm just putting it out into the universe, Chris, that maybe that'll be the next 6C House iteration. What do you think?
And no vocalists have come. I put out I need vocals, and I've had 0 vocalists. So, right, it's the whole selfish thing is just me not seeking it.
Okay, right? Yeah, I gotcha.
If you come to me and said like, I'd love to sing in my, like, I lit up. I was like, yeah, I'll send you the MP3s, and I know how to do things. So it's like, that is like, I just send them your way, you send them back. I have never had somebody do that.
Well, so, then we're going to have to do that. And I guess we might have to share that with our audience. I think that's
a to-be continued.
That sounds like a plan. Really cool. Chris, it's been so good talking to you today. Do you feel like you have anything or any like advice for anyone else in the electronic scene specifically, or who's starting out or maybe finds that intimidating? Like any words for someone in that kind of bubble?
Yeah, I mean, it really is an everyday thing. I have friends in it, and I've seen how much effort that they put in every single day. They are super technical, super talented. You hear the piano up there,
I love
and you need to know how to use your DAW, learn how to use Ableton, pump through songs, and that the goal is to just make really good music. To me, everything is habits and routines. 10,000 hours, I believe in it. I don't have 10,000 hours here. I have friends that probably do. And I just see their dedication and their everyday, putting in the work. That really comes with, you really have to, love it in that way. So
Right.
That's how your relationship to music has to be. Touring isn't easy. I've played Firefly, I've played Electric Forest. I don't seek these things because I don't make money off of those things, and I lose a lot of money. It's basically like a vacation. They're fun to do, but it is a very, touring is touring. It's not for everybody, and it's something that you really have to develop an everyday habit for.
Yeah.
Really love it.
Everyday habits, gotta have that passion for it. Absolutely. So how can everyone find your music? Where are you located online?
Yep. So you can find my link tree on my Instagram, which is CEStack515. I'm sure there'll be link here, link.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, link right here. Link,
Add that in post.
link
Yeah.
there.
Perfect.
Instagram. CEStack515, and I have my link tree there. You can see all of the links that I want you to go to.
Perfect.
Including the album on Spotify. My artist name is Stack on Spotify, Apple Music, or anywhere where streaming is available. And I'm very approachable and easy to talk to, so DM me.
Sounds good. Yeah. So you guys look out for Chris. Definitely go follow him on all those platforms, and maybe just kind of hang tight for a little Jess and Chris collab coming up here. Other than that, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and thank you, Chris, for being here today. We really appreciate hearing from you, and I think that's a wrap. So we'll catch y'all all next time.
Bye.
Yeah, 316. Got game and pulled out his own Atari. I said sorry, I'ma have to pass like Nash to Amari. Tiger up early on a Sunday, sinking birdies while the pigskin spinning through the air, tight and birdie. It's a TD, it's a TKO, a home run, it's a hat trick. Ain't no way to be an all-star without practice. So if you down to sacrifice your life for a draft pick, it's a pretty sweet position you can live in if you have some things in the air. If you got game, wave 'em like you just don't care. If you got game,